If you like the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this.
People who has a cheating wife or husband. What is your reaction when you caught them? I had a girlfriend who was great. We were together 2 years and living together in an apartment before I bought a duplex when the American housing market crashed. I didn't want her to feel trapped or anything, so I said that it was my house and I would like her to live with me, but that I would pay the mortgage and bills if she would just help with utilities and food. She lived with me for a year and started to have signs of depression. The duplex was a bit in the country and she talked about wanting to live in the city. So being the loving and trusting boyfriend I was, I moved her to an apartment in the city, including buying her furniture for her birthday and helping her move it in. We made it clear we were still together to all friends and family. We talked daily and did weekend dates in the city as well as nights at my place since it was close to the town we both grew up in, and we had a lot of mutual friends who lived near me. The city was probably 30 to 45 minutes away depending on traffic. Well, all our friends and us made plans to see a movie together that we all were very excited about coming out. She came up the day of, and right before we were getting ready to go she got weird and said she was too tired to go. I explained that she could sleep but made sure she knew I still wanted to go as we had been planning this for months and I frequently didn't get to see this group of our friends due to work. She said that was okay as long as it was okay she didn't go. I left. The movie was great and I had a blast. I get home and she is awake, and blind drunk. I feel I should mention I am a police officer who specializes in interviewing, usually pedophiles, and I don't drink, but I do have a very nice bottle of whiskey above my fridge for the days when I need to come home and have 2 fingers with a big meal before bed, not drunk but also no nightmares that way. Well, she had drank it all. I was a little upset about that, but mostly just concerned. Who gets super drunk by themselves when they could go out with their loving boyfriend and friends? Well, I pride myself on not brining work into my personal life, but the interrogator in my head went, "Hey dum-dum, something's wrong, figure it out." Some pro tips for anyone who is still reading. When asking someone a yes or no question, anything that isn't a yes or a no is the bad answer. Example: did you kill that man? No. Did you kill that man? Well, last week I went to the store. First it was that she kissed someone else, then when I pressed she admitted the full nasty details. I am not a big crier. It's good if people do, but it's just not something I do well. Hello childhood trauma. So tears came from my eyes for the first time in our relationship and she goes to comfort me. I said, "Oh no, you don't get to do that anymore." That really helped. It hit home for her, I think. I called her a cab and paid for her to leave. She tried to pay and I informed her, "I'm the one who wants you gone, I'm happy to pay." No excuse for cash. I never actually caught him, because I didn't even try. I just got it someday. And in retrospect, he left a ton of clues. First there were the ads for dating sites that kept popping up on the tablet he had given me. Then I skated on splitting my computer's hard drive into 2 separate partitions for absolutely no reason other than to give each one of us their own space. Then he started stalking me, even though he was the one who had the time and means to cheat, especially as he has to travel for work 2 to 3 days a week, while I was stuck at home with 1, then 2 toddlers, when I wasn't at work. He stalked me by following my every movement, first via the Find Your Phone app he had installed on my phone, then by putting a tracking chip on my keychain. Life with him was hellish, so I said I needed some space and time by myself. A friend who was put of the country for 4 months offered me to stay at their place. We'd have the kids alternately. On my second weekend without the kids, I went out with a group of friends, plenty of witnesses, yay. And whom did we stumble upon, sucking faces with a complete yet really pretty stranger? Yup, him. My reaction? Laughing hysterically, because he'd been whining and harassing me so much about my supposed infidelities and how they made me an awful mother, and there he was, having dumped the kids at his parents' place and sleeping FB around after less than a month. My friends were so scared I might cry all night they bought me plenty of drinks, so I ended up absolutely shit-faced for the first time ever and had the time of my life. The separation became definitive and we're now divorced. After bragging about all his Tinder dates, he bragged about settling with a single mom because of her high-end job. Good riddance. After I broke up with him, a bunch of women came to me saying that he had been cheating on me. Like enough for me to realize that the entire time we were together, he was probably messing around with someone. Which I had suspicions about but could never confront him as I never had proof. The last straw was this girl randomly came into his life probably via a dating app and would flirt with him over Facebook. Like every single post. He'd flirt back most of the time. Me, thinking he's just making himself look sleazy, tried also flirting with him. He deleted my comments. Every single time I commented on his post, within seconds, he deleted it. I confronted him about it and he said he deleted mine because they weren't funny enough. Apparently this other girl was a real riot. Pissed off with him and not buying it, I friended this girl on Facebook. She accepted, and then he immediately blows up on me. I find out that he was also being just as flirty with her as she was with him. He blows it off as just joking around, and then he changes his story and says that he's flirting with her to get free stuff out of her, and then he changes it again and says he's doing it to keep creepy guys from hitting on her online. I did not buy any of it, but he promised that he wouldn't talk to her ever again because I threatened to dump his ass. Couple weeks later and he blocked me on one of his alternate accounts he had then because he was always going to Facebook jail. I asked him why and he claimed that he got hacked so he blocked everyone. Sewer. I let it go until one night we were watching a movie and I saw that girl's name pop up as a notification on his phone. He quickly grabbed his phone and turned it upside down and I pretended not see for the rest of the night. The next day, I confront him. He lies a bunch and accuses me of cheating because I've been taking my birth control even though we haven't been having sex. That and I come home late too many times, even though I'm an EMT, and I explained to him before I became one that I probably will never be home on time. I steer the conversation back on him. He never admits it, just kicks me out of the apartment that I pay the bills for. When I come back very shortly after to gather my stuff up, he has that girl with him and they spend the entire time making mean comments under their breath about me, and my brother and dad who came to help. A week later, a friend told me that he changed his relationship status on Facebook with her even though he refused to with me because he didn't think everyone needed to know our business. I was young and naive. I met my ex at my workplace. I actually mentored him, then grew close to him since we had the same break times. We eventually started hanging out, which led to him asking me out. I poured everything into that relationship. Even when he got kicked out by his roommates when he couldn't hold down a steady job, I packed all of his shit in my car and helped him move to his mom's place. One day he starts talking about how much he loves hanging out with his childhood friend Z. Well, Z has a GF who has a best friend who's always over there. Eventually my ex keeps telling me how great this girl is and I should meet her. I do. I ate sushi with her, I did her makeup to boost her confidence, I went shopping with her. I notice how often my BF would rather hang out with them than spend time with me. I thought it was my fault since I had 2 jobs and tried to save up for us to go on dates. I finally do save up enough for a theme park and wore a cute outfit. The whole day BF was giving my attitude. I pay it no mind. He's always like that. His depression and anxiety or whatever. After that day at like 3 a.m. he calls me and starts accusing me of cheating on him because I had a bruise on my back. I worked furniture. I'm a small woman so typically I get slammed into or bump into things. I call for a break and found out he had been cuddling with that bitch throughout our break. Blocked him off everything and chewed out his mom, who worked with me and knew what the fuck he was up to. It was a clarifying moment for me to fully understand that although his mental issues explain why he did it, it doesn't excuse his actions. Fuck you. We were ordering food and I was holding his phone looking at the menu when he received a message that said, "You make me so happy less than 3." He tried to explain it away, but I knew. Edit. Forgot my reaction. I saw that was just one of 4 recent messages from the notification header. I finished ordering food, and I asked for an explanation. He said he had been helping her with drama about her ex and they were just good friends. I took some time to cool off, but couldn't drop it, and came back and asked to see the messages. He said they were too personal. We ate. I kept trying to let it go, but I told him I needed to see the messages. He refused. I said he had to explain a lot better, and he explained that they had been talking about him breaking up with me. So we broke up that night. Lots of crying, holding each other, apologizing for things we had both done or not done. The next morning I moved out, but not before I confirmed that he was cheating. Not explaining here, because he uses Reddit too. I was only able to move a third of my things out, as it was pretty painful to pack the last 7 years of my life into bags, so I came back the next day I had off and got everything else. Once I had all my belongings out, I sat him down and told him I knew he was cheating. He apologized for emotionally cheating on me, said he hadn't considered it cheating at the time. But he's not that dumb, and it wasn't just emotional. He still wants me in his life, but I'd rather never see him again. I don't blame him for the breakup, but I can't condone how he went about it. He pushed me away, neglected me, ignored me, lied to me, and proved in so many ways how he had no respect for me. I should have known. My first long-term girlfriend and I were going to go to the same college. I got accepted, but had to start the semester after she did, meaning we would be slightly long distance for a few months. It wasn't too bad because we were only about 2 hours apart, so it was pretty easy to visit, but our relationship did struggle a bit. I remember one night I got a phone call from her and when I picked up it was obvious it was a butt dial. I could hear her talking to some guy, but couldn't make out what they were saying. I called her and she picked up and I asked what was up. She said she was in bed about to go sleep. I told her about the butt dial and she said it was her friend Jack, who I had met, asking to borrow something. I thought it was odd but brushed it off. A couple weeks later I was up there visiting her and I met a bunch of cool people, including this guy Luke. After I got back from visiting I get a Facebook message from him saying, "Look man, I hate to be the one to say this, but I think you're an awesome guy and you don't deserve this to be happening to you. She's been cheating on you with this guy pretty soon after she started here." I was devastated, but I had to hear it from her, so I called her and said, "Are you cheating on me?" She gave a heavy sigh and said, "Well, at least I don't have to lie anymore." That guy's voice I had heard wasn't Jack, it was the guy she was cheating on me with. I just trusted her so much that I took her word for it. Even though it was painful, I was grateful for Luke sending me that message. What's funny is that most of the people I met up there that were her friends sided with me after the breakup, so when I started going there that next semester I had a group of friends to support me and most of them are still very close friends of mine to this day. I had told him I'd be at his place at noon to do laundry in my machines. I get there, unlock the door, and the chain is latched. I called and texted several times before getting fed up. Guess he never realized that the chain was useless because all I had to do was slide it up to unhook it. Walked into his dark apartment and saw a purple water bottle and her purse on the couch. I knew instantly what I was going to find in his bedroom. I'd had a feeling for months that something was going on and this was the proof I needed. I felt overwhelming relief. I started recording on my phone as I walked down the hall, opened the bedroom door, and flipped on the lights. They were snuggled together under my blanket, asleep. They woke up and she smiled at me like a cat that had caught the canary before covering her head with the blanket. He glared at me and rolled over. I shut the lights off, grabbed my stuff, and went back to my car. The three of us worked together their night shift, and I sent the video to everyone in our department before I left the parking lot. He assumed I was too meek to retaliate, so he had one hell of a surprise Monday afternoon when he strolled into work. I found out that day, from his mother, that I was not the first woman he's done this to. It was actually so bad in his hometown, that he had been forced to move across the state to get away from the death threats and angry husbands. Would have been nice if she had warned me before it happened to me too. 2 a.m., alone in our apartment watching junk TV while the ex was out. Not a big deal, it was Friday night and I would usually be out with some friends, had supposed to be, in fact, but backed out last minute and decided to stay home instead. A knock came on my door, which was strange because our apartment had controlled entry, but I looked through the peephole and saw it was a good friend of the ex. We'll call him Oscar. Afraid something was wrong, I opened the door and greeted Oscar. Standing awkwardly in the hall, Oscar tells me he can't find his wife and that he's pretty sure his wife and the ex are together. Oscar had previously caught them having an affair months prior but had forgiven them, and together, the three of them had decided to keep it from me, and instead let me and the ex move in together. Hell, Oscar had even helped us move furniture and unpack. Story finished, Oscar abruptly leaves. I spend the rest of the night calling the ex and leaving several devastated messages. I was in complete shock. At some point I drove around town to all the shitty motels to look for his car, knowing exactly how his little brain worked, looking for a confrontation. Turns out later, I'd hunted the correct route, only he'd traded vehicles with his sister so he could disguise his run better. Oscar and wife moved across the country a month later. The ex tried to reconcile with me. I was young and dumb and broke. It took me several months, but I eventually saved enough money to break the lease, got myself a new place, and left it and him all behind me. Few years later, I get a call from the ex, who was having a mental breakdown and was considering suicide. Said I was the only person he could trust and talk to, and would I support him through his mental trauma. Knowing I was unfit for such a job, I told him he needed to talk to a professional. He begged me not to tell anyone, but I contacted his sister and washed my hands of the situation. After the fact, I struggled with guilt, wondering if I'd just been too selfish by turning him away. I know now it was for the best. He'd often manipulated me in similar situations before, and my self-preservation had instinctively kicked in. It's been 10+ years and I'm happily married to my perfect mate and we're expecting our first child. Last I heard, the ex managed to clean up his life some and I'm happy for him, but thank fuck I had gotten out of that drama-filled relationship.